innovate, enable.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of CNBC-TV18 and Qualcomm present the 5G opportunity. Now, telecom is the backbone of Digital India vision, and it is imperative to build a strong domestic manufacturing ecosystem, especially in view of the Make in India call. Historically, telecom equipment and architecture were the domain of a handful of multinational companies. But India's 5G network is getting a local touch, thanks to the emergence of platforms like the Open Radio Access Network Alliance and the partnerships that Indian telecom companies have inked with local and global partners. Presently, India imports almost 85% of its telecom equipment requirements. However, Indian manufacturers are developing capabilities of manufacturing advanced equipment. ORAN is making it easier to build a standardized hardware. The recently announced production-linked incentive, or the PLI scheme by the government, will be a boost that the Indian telecom equipment manufacturers much needed. We caught up with Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the MOS of IT and Electronics, to understand how partnerships can catalyze the 5G infrastructure rollout by speeding up the process of equipment manufacturing and setup in India.
Thank you, Rima, and thank you for inviting me to speak at this keynote of the 5G program entitled Made in India for the World. Just a few weeks ago, we witnessed the director of IIT Chennai, Professor Kamakoti, a very hardworking academic professor whom I have a great deal of respect for, him and his team, putting out a video of how they made a video call on a domestically developed 5G core. And core and a stack, and just a few days after that we had the sight of the Honorable Minister of Communication, Mr. Ashwini Vaishnaw, traveling to Chennai and making a video call on the same 5G stack and core network, which is a fully indigenous, fully Atmanirbhar Bharat solution that had been designed, architected and built in India and in the incubation ecosystem around IIT Chennai. And it is indeed a very big milestone. That video, that occasion marks a very big milestone because for most people who have seen the progress of Indian telecom and in particular the wireless sector, you know that for over 3 decades almost, India has been a consumer of technologies. And whether it was the 2G networks in the early days or the 3G networks or the subsequent 4G networks, almost every piece of the network, every piece of the software stack, every piece of the application layer, and every piece of the device ecosystem was imported or designed and manufactured elsewhere. 5G is not just another G. 5G is not just faster internet. 5G represents a tremendously deep, transformative wireless leap. It is not just the 5th generation mobile network for consumers. It is also the 1st generation of machine to machine and sensor to sensor networks and communication that are going to totally transform the way we see the internet, the way we experience the internet, and the way the internet is in general. And so it is very, very important for a country like ours that is now making the leap from being a technology consumer for several decades to wanting to, as the Honorable Prime Minister said way back in 2014-15, that we must have as one of our objectives of Digital India, not just use technology for transforming the lives of all Indians and make sure that the power of the internet and the power of technology is accessible for every Indian, but also that we become world leaders in emerging technologies and emerging trends going forward. So if you look at both those objectives, you will see that 5G will play an extremely important role in making the internet ubiquitous and available to a large part of our population that remains unconnected. And at the same time, that we drive the future of wireless and mobile technology with our own indigenous made in India, designed in India solutions. So in what we have seen today at IIT Chennai and what we know is in the pipeline in terms of various startups and various innovators that are building, whether they are the open RAN on the network, or building pieces of the stack or building the devices or parts of the device for the 5G network. We are at a place very different from the early days of telecom that India saw 2.5, 3 decades ago. We are not just building out the next generation network, we are also architecting, designing and owning the intellectual property for a large part of that experience that consumers will have and the IoT aspects of the 5G network. So I think we are, and this leads, obviously this gateways to clearly what is the next generation after 5G, 6G. The Honorable Prime Minister has made it very clear that our capabilities and our desire and ambitions in the post-COVID world to be a trusted producer of digital products and solutions will extend from not just delivering and architecting 5G networks and 5G systems for India and for markets and consumers abroad, but also for the next coming generations of technology. Again, I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak, and I am very confident that the Prime Minister's vision that India will be a trusted provider of digital products and services to the world will soon be not just a reality, but will be a reality that will extend into a leadership position for these technologies in the coming years and in India's decade. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Well, on that note, it's time for a very short break, but don't go anywhere because on the other side, we have a very interesting panel discussion lined up.